Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McLean starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. It's great to be on with you. Praise be to God. It is Friday. Congratulations. You have survived the week. Just imagine what you get to do this weekend on the honey-do list. It's going to be really, really amazing and productive. But before we do that, hey, Trump won the election, but babies lost. Babies lost big this election here in the United States. We're going to be talking about this today because although, praise be to God, 46% of the Hispanic vote went to Trump and most of that Catholic Latino men, we're going to be talking about that with Adrian Fonseca. But I got to say, I'm very disappointed at the pro-life causes in several states, 7 states, Missouri, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Maryland, and Montana, passing abortion amendments to allow greater access to abortion in their states. Babies lost big in this election. We're going to have a conversation around that with Jim Havens at 30 past the hour. So we've got Adrian Fonseca from America Needs Fatima coming up at 14 past. It's going to be a great conversation to talk about the Latino vote that moved the needle big this election season. Praise be to God. But boy, those babies. Let us pray. Let us pray fast and do penance for so many lives that will be lost as a result to the results in these amendments in these states. But more on that coming up today, as well as the email that I send out every Friday to the insiders that you can get on that email list by going to thestationofthecross.com/ACT, smashing that email sign up, giving me permission to harass your inbox at least once a week. Praise be to God. And I do intend to harass your inbox. So, click that button with some confidence, knowing that we're going to be having a good time. Praise be to Jesus. Coming up is the Bible study session number 5 next Wednesday night. If you want to get in on the Bible study and watch the previous sessions, I'll send you the link with all of the videos linked so you can watch every single session, get caught up, and join us on Wednesday night if you like. You got to do that by joining the email list. That's the only way. Go to thestationofthecross.com/ACT. Let's pray. Let's jump in. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come. Before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and now your saint of the day.
Saint Godfrey of Amiens, pray for us. Godfrey was born to a pious noble French family in the year of our Lord, 1066. His father, after the death of Godfrey's mother, entered a monastery, and Godfrey himself was educated in a monastery under the guidance of a holy abbot who was related to the great Crusader kings of Jerusalem, Godfrey and Baldwin. The younger Godfrey was ordained a priest at age 25, and soon appointed abbot of a nearly ruined and abandoned abbey in Champagne. In both cases, Godfrey believed himself totally unworthy of the office, but fulfilled his duties with great piety and zeal, transforming the abbey into a center of holiness. Godfrey refused to be appointed abbot of a famous abbey at Reims, but was compelled to accept his appointment as Bishop of Amiens. He continued to practice strict mortifications and tended to the poor in person each day. He never hesitated to condemn public sinners, no matter how lofty their position, and firmly enforced clerical discipline. He refused to grant an audience to anyone, even great princes, who were effeminate or ostentatious in their dress. Godfrey died of a fever while traveling in the year of our Lord 1118. For more about this day, the octave day of All Saints, and others in the Church's calendar, visit thestationofthecross.com/saints and seasons. Saint Godfrey of Amiens and all saints, pray for us.
And now your headline news. LifeSite News is reporting Cardinal Pierre Lin congratulates Trump. The Vatican Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, has congratulated President Donald Trump on his election victory, urging him to work for peace and to overcome polarization in many areas, including immigration and pro-life issues. Quote, "We wish him much wisdom because this is the main virtue of rulers, according to the Bible," Parolin said. Questioned about Trump's stance on abortion and his relationship with the Holy See on the topic, Parolin reiterated the importance of the defense of life. But he also urged Trump to pursue a common policy to unite consensuses. Parolin stated that on immigration, the position of the Pope and the Holy See is very clear. We are for a wise policy toward immigrants, and therefore one that does not go to these extremes, he said, criticizing Trump's style. Apparently they didn't have much issue with Biden's position on abortion, did they? Anyway, The Hill reports Trump says there's no price tag on his deportation proposal. President-elect Trump said in an interview yesterday that there is no price tag when it comes to his mass deportation plan. Trump has consistently reiterated, on day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. Trump insisted that we have no choice. When people have killed and murdered, when drug lords have destroyed countries, now they're going to go back to those countries because they're not staying here, close quote. A CNN exit poll revealed that Trump won Latino men by 12 points over Vice President Harris, a 35-point swing since 2020. And Biden won the group by 23 points. More on that with Adrian Fonseca in a few minutes. And the Associated Press is reporting that the Temple of Satan gains ground in Chile as faith in traditional religions wanes. 5 years after the Satanic Temple of the United States made headlines when it was designated a church, a similar organization in Chile, a conservative country where half of its population of 18 million identifies as Catholic, is asking the government to recognize them legally as a religious association. Founded in 2021, Chile's Temple of Satan has 100 members, and more than 400 people have applied to join just in the past few weeks alone. The interest spiked at the end of July when the group formally requested the country's Ministry of Justice to legally recognize it as religious association. And those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Luke chapter 16, verses 1 through 8. And Jesus said to his disciples, there was a certain rich man who had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called to him and said to him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for now on thou canst not be my steward. And the steward said within himself, what shall I do, because my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship? To dig I am not able, to beg I am ashamed. I know what I will do, that when I shall be removed from the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. Therefore, calling together every one of his Lord's debtors, he said to the first, how much dost thou owe my Lord? But he said, 100 barrels of oil. And he said to him, take thy bill, and sit down quickly, and write 50. Then he said to another, how much dost thou owe? Who said, 100 quarters of wheat. And he said to him, take thy bill, and write 80. And the Lord commended the unjust steward for as much as he had done wisely. For the children of this world are wiser in their generation than the children of light. The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Cornelius a Lapide, the great biblical scholar, would say, for although as regards men we are the absolute masters of our own possessions, yet with respect to God, who is Lord over all, we are but stewards, because whatever we possess was given us for our own moderate use and for the relief of our poor brethren. And in the day of judgment, we shall have to render a strict account for our stewardship. St. Paul would say, let a man so account of us as of the ministers of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful in 1 Corinthians 4:2. So bishops, in particular, are the stewards of the mysteries of God, and they must be found faithful. So Christ, Cornelius Lapide goes on, saith unto everyone in the hour of death, give an account of thy stewardship, give an account of thy life, of thy goods, of thy talents, whether thou hast used them to promote the glory of God and the salvation of thyself and thy fellow men. This is for all of us, not just bishops, but for me, for a husband and a father. I must give an account for every action, every idle word that I have ever uttered, and so will you. The steward acknowledges the justice of the accusation, says Cornelius Lapide. He had wasted his master's goods. Henceforward he must labor or beg for his living. The one thing he was unable, and the other he was ashamed to do. Take back thy bond, wherein thou didst acknowledge that thou owest 100 measures of oil. Tear it up, and write another, confessing to a debt of 50 only, and divide the other 50 between me and thee. The Lord praised not the action, for it was dishonest, but the prudence, the cunning craft of the steward, just as we often admire not indeed a crime, but the cleverness shown in contriving it. Very wisely has someone said, in worldly matters we are philosophers, as to our spiritual affairs, fools. In earthly things we are lynx-eyed, but in heavenly we are moles. Close quote. Cornelius Lapide. So much to think about today, but we are going to give an account someday. That day could be today, could be 100 years from now. We don't know the day or the hour that we will stand before the judge, but we do know that we are to be prepared, that we are to read the signs of the times and act accordingly. Today, God has given you a chance to repent and believe in the gospel. You should do that. We'll be right back. More is coming with Adrian Fonseca next. Don't go anywhere.
Looking for a mobile provider that aligns with your faith? Look no further than iCatholic Mobile, America's only Catholic 5G wireless provider. Enjoy the highest quality and fastest data with unlimited talk and text. Ideal for families and individuals, our affordable plan support causes you believe in, and a portion of every dollar goes to the Station of the Cross. With dependable nationwide coverage, you can have peace of mind knowing your choice promotes traditional Catholic values. Switch today. Visit iCatholicMobile.com.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God. Hey, coming up at 30 past the hour, we're going to have a conversation about how Trump won, but babies lost big in this election. I mean big. In 7 states, they passed these amendments that would give greater access to babies, and babies are now going to die and lose their lives because of it. What does that mean when we had such a red wave in this election that it was the babies that lost the worst? We're going to have that conversation with Jim Havens, host of The Simple Truth, coming up at 30 past the hour. Do join us if you can. Now, some surprising news. I mean, surprising to a lot of people that some of those red counties were on, say, border states or other places, because it looks like the Hispanic vote swung huge for Donald Trump this election. In fact, it was a stunning 46% of the Hispanic and Latino vote that went for Trump. But in my opinion, it was the 7-point swing of Latino Catholic men that was the most important and impressive to me. Joining us to talk about this is Adrian Fonseca with America Needs Fatima, americaneedsfatima.org. You can check out his YouTube channels as on America Needs Fatima, as well as the Miracles and Prophecies of St. John Bosco. We're going to be linking to all of it in the show notes today. Adrian, good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Howdy, howdy. Praise be to God. It's good to be here. I am very much enjoying it. It's been a while since I've been back on A Catholic Take, and I have a lot of Catholic takes, so I should be on more often.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. So, all right, let me ask you, what was your initial response to Donald Trump? Did you stay up late? Did you watch the returns? What do you think?
Oh, man, I feel horrible. I was staying up late trying to watch, and I passed out around, 11:50, and my brother comes knocking on my door. And he comes in, he's like, Adrian, Donald Trump won. And my brother wanted to launch fireworks because he saved some fireworks from the last holidays. And he was like, I'm going to save these fireworks for when Trump wins. I'm going to launch them. And we did not do that because I was like, okay, you go do that. And I went back to sleep. So I saw the results and I woke up the next morning.
Wow. All right. So you weren't even that plugged in. You were just like, okay, great. This is good. We can all just sort of move on from now. Were you at all surprised, though? Because a lot of people were. In fact, it was interesting to watch the vitriol on Twitter, on X in particular, but I'm sure other social platforms as well, against Latinos because they voted. In fact, some were saying Latinos just voted to have themselves, deported. Like, that's bizarre thinking. Yeah. Latino Americans seem to be as concerned about the future and the welfare of our country as any other American. Would you say that's fair?
Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. We have seen since Barack Obama, actually, people don't realize this, but if you track the Latino vote from Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden and now Kamala Harris, they have been slowly losing the Latino vote a small bit at a time. And this last bit has just been the amount where it's noticeable, because before it was just a tiny trickling of support that they were losing. And this is the first time we've seen a substantial amount. In fact, it's interesting that people might point out there was a YouTube video that Vice did about 2 years ago where they had conservative Latinos and liberal Latinos argue about different topics. And it was really interesting to see because 2 years ago, and this was even more toxic for you to talk about. I remember when Donald Trump was running for his first election, people got really, really mad at me because they were like, how could you support Donald Trump? Don't you know he's going to deport you and your family? Here's the thing. My family is American citizens. Right. I'm an American citizen. I was born here in Texas. My parents were born here in Texas. My grandparents were born here in Texas. My great-grandparents were born here in Texas. So, no, my family is not at risk of being deported. And what these leftists seem to not understand is that the people who are Latinos, who are voting, those people are American citizens. Right. So they have this ingredient
in this whole argument.
Exactly. I guess they're thinking, oh yeah, illegal immigrants can vote, but no, the American citizens are the ones who are voting. Typically speaking, hopefully the only, but American citizens have concerns that American citizens have, and the Democrats have been tending towards setting up the Latino vote as not American citizens. They're targeting them as if they're illegal. And so they're not talking to them like blue collar workers. And the right has been more and more trying to reach the blue collar workers. And so that automatically goes to Latinos. And also, I think the big element that people are not talking about, and I listened to a bunch of different people on CNN, MSNBC, to see what they thought about the Latino vote, what they're missing. And I heard this woman, there was like a 2-minute video clip where they were interviewing different people. They said, we Latinos have family values. Exactly. And I think the left's insanity because I mean, if you meet Latinos, you'll see Latinos who support abortion and things like that. I think it was a transgender issue. I think the transgender issue was too far for them. Like, a lot of them are just as liberal as your average, unfortunately, as your average Catholic, who are going to say, I'm probably against abortion personally, but socially, I think people should be able to do what they want. That's probably your average Latino. But if you ask them, should you trans kids? If you ask them about homosexual marriage, they tend to be against these kind of things. And if you would look, I think it was the counties on the border won 92% of the Latino vote, something insane like that. American citizens, Latino American citizens, want a closed border. They came legally. They do not want illegal immigration. They don't want these people who are coming in this way because we don't know who they are. A lot of them are bad people. And a lot of the people who work for immigration, they are actually Latinos. And that's what people fail to understand. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind because we're starting to see that trend and we have to keep going.
Especially here in Texas. You and I have the privilege of living in the People's Republic of Texas. It goes all the way back to the days when Texians fought against Santa Anna. The Latinos were shoulder to shoulder with anybody else because this was their home, and they fought for that home. They fought for liberty and independence in those days. And so they are as much American citizens today as anybody else. And it's mind-boggling that anybody on the left sort of lumps them all into this one little bucket, which I think reveals a wee bit about who actually is racist and who isn't racist in this conversation. Because as you say very clearly, they are concerned. They want a good country. They want a good economy. They want a future for their children, and they want strong values. In fact, it was the Catholic Vote article that points this out, that it was Latino Catholics, and I would dare I say Latino Catholic men, praise be to God, who stood up big for this election to the point of a 7-point margin. That was a huge shift for the Republicans in this. What do you think about the faith of Latino men? That's been one of the issues I think we've talked about many times in the past, you and I in particular, about sort of the lukewarmness of the Catholic faith in Latin American countries, in particular, Mexico or other countries. They identify as Catholic, but it's really just surface. Do you think there's a fire being ignited in their hearts?
You know, it's funny you say that. The founder of the organization America Needs Fatima, Professor Plinio Correia de Oliveira, he was a Brazilian Catholic philosopher and thinker. And one of the things that he had said was that inside every Mexican is a sleeping Cristero waiting to be awakened.
Amen.
And that's so true. That's so true. He said Mexicans had only two results. Mexican men had two results that they could have. One, they could have a fire in their belly to become a crusader for Christ. Or two, they could be the worst degenerate people that you can imagine. And that's the only two options they have. And I think what a lot of the people have tried to do is pacify, because they don't want that fire that's naturally in the Latino spirit. The Latino spirit is that has that kind of fire in the belly. They want to go do something. They want to do something amazing. And so I think the strategy of the left has always been, let's pacify them. Let's make them lazy. Let's make them do nothing. And that needs to be shaken off. And I think more and more people are waking up to seeing this. And that's just not just with Latinos. It's across the board. Every Catholic is waking up to the crisis, and it's being manifest in different ways in different cultures, because we all have that history, that blood in us that makes us who we are, right? And so, yes, I mean, if you're a Latino, if you're a German, if you're a Frenchman, if you're an Englishman, we have this history that belongs to us, and we should resurrect our Catholic history. Because, yes, being Catholic is the most important, but our fatherland also, that has an influence on us. They have a primordial light that directs us towards a particular way of manifesting God's glory in a very, very particular ways. I think it's very important. Also, into your point about the leftists being absolutely racist, I sent you a text message. I don't know if you can pull it up or not, but actually, probably not. It's inappropriate. But I sent it to you to illustrate the left. It becomes like incredibly racist against Latinos. Like, I am getting a ton of like racist comments, people sending to me. Nobody used to feel bad about me. I think it's hilarious. But the point about it is the left reveals their true face. They pretend to be this tolerance. They pretend to care about everybody, to be a diversity of opinion. Oh, I love the Latino people. I love diversity. I love Hispanics. Until you are no longer useful to the revolution. If you're not useful to the revolution, they will squeeze you like a used lemon and toss you to the side, because they do not care about you. All they care about is revolution. And all their goal is to...
Oh, no, I think we just lost Adrian. His internet seemed to cut off on us. I find it interesting, especially given the conversation in the news segment we read about Cardinal Piero Petrolin congratulating Donald Trump, downplaying the abortion issue, and then making an emphasis on the immigration issue. Again, that's hypocrisy. They seem to tolerate Joe Biden's pro-abortion stance with not a lot of fanfare. I mean, they didn't even push back on that issue at all. But golly whiz, when it comes to immigration, oh no, we need to have a fair policy here. Well, what exactly define terms? What is a fair policy. Now, I know I'm concerned about what does the deportation plan actually look like? How is this process going to be managed? Because we definitely don't want to live in a world where Venezuelan gang members are taking over apartment complexes in America. We don't want that, right? I think we can all agree that has got to go. We don't want rapists and murderers on our streets here illegally. No, they've got to go. We've got to get the criminal element out. We've got to keep the drug cartels out. But if I'm being honest, it's going to be hard to do that. They're so ingrained. In my own backyard here in the Houston, Texas area, the cartels are deeply ingrained in this area. The human sex slave trade, this is a major hub for the human sex slave trade right in my own backyard. The largest illegal immigrant colony in America, Colony Ridge, is just down the road by a few miles from us right now. Untying that knot is going to be deeply, deeply difficult. It's going to be deeply problematic and troubling, to say the least, which is I think, an opportunity to remind us all that we can only do so much when it comes to politics. The ability to be fair completely is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. Might I even say impossible? This is a spiritual battle. As St. Paul reminds us, we are up against the powers and the principalities of this world. The prince of this world is the devil. So let's not be friends with the devil. Let's not hold fast to this world as though it's our ultimate destination. It's our final location. No, we're going to heaven. We're wandering through this wilderness to cross the Jordan into the heavenly kingdom. This world is passing. So let's not hold on to it too tightly. But let's save as many people as we can. And there is a fight for the soul of our country and the world around us. And it's time for us to say this far and no further. This is the hill we must die on. So let's stand as true Casteros. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain, and this headline news segment is brought to you by our good friends and sponsor, iCatholicMobile.com, the only Catholic company in town for your cell phone plan with unlimited data rates. You can check them out and make sure to mention my name to get the activation fee waived. iCatholicMobile.com. They're our partner. We love them. We think you will too. iCatholicMobile.com. Now your headline news. Catholic News Agency is reporting Constitutional Court in Spain forces Catholic Brotherhood to admit women. Spain's Constitutional Court has ruled that by refusing to admit women, a male Catholic Brotherhood, the pontifical, royal, and venerable slavery of the Most Holy Christ of La Laguna, violated the legal precept of non-discrimination on the basis of her sex and her right to association. Article 1 of the statutes of the Brotherhood states that it is a religious association of gentlemen established to promote among its members a more perfect Christian life, the exercise of works of evangelical piety, and the increase of devotion and veneration of the holy image of our crucified Lord. However, the Constitutional Court now considers that content in the article to be, not really religious-based, so you can't use it. Good times. Where's the king again on that one? Hey, Just the News reports Gavin Newsom announces special session of California legislature in wake of Trump's victory. California Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom on Thursday announced that the state's legislature will convene for a special session next month regarding protecting people's civil rights and California values ahead of the second Donald Trump presidency. The governor said that the session will focus on strengthening the state's legal options to protect fundamental rights like abortion and safeguard illegal immigrants. The session will also consider new legislative action on additional funding to the State Department of Justice so they can better fend off any civil action filed against them. And Catholic Vote reports Trump names chief of staff. Trump on Thursday named longtime Florida Republican political consultant Susie Wiles the White House chief of staff for his incoming administration. Along with Chris LaCivita, Wiles was one of the co-campaign manager for Trump's successful 2024 bid for the presidency. Soon, she will become the first female chief of staff in the history of the position, which dates back to 1946. And those are your headline news. Hey, Trump won. That was good. Praise be to God. I think that was a good thing for our country, for our people, for our future. Let's pray for his complete conversion, especially on the life issues. But I got to say, it was the babies that lost the battle the worst in this election. In fact, 7 states passed amendments allowing greater access to abortion, which means babies are going to die in those states. So babies lost big on Tuesday. And here to talk about that is host of The Simple Truth, Jim Havens, which you can listen to weekdays, 4 p.m. Central, all across the Station of the Cross and iCatholic Radio. Praise be to God. Jim, good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. Great to be with you.
So what was your initial response to Tuesday's outcome?
Sure, yeah. Well, I celebrate just like anybody else who believes that we dodged a major bullet in not having the Harris-Walz team elected. So I think, look, thanks be to God. We would have been in big, big trouble. But we don't need to even think about that or talk about that anymore other than to give thanks and praise to God. What we have now is an opportunity before us, a window to really get things back going in the right direction in this nation. And so it's up to us. It's not time to celebrate too much. I'll celebrate for about a day. And now it's time. We got to get to work like we've never worked before. Pray and work. We got a lot to do. And I know that President Trump is certainly going to keep going hard. But we need to match that with those who have a well-formed Catholic heart, because we've got to influence this administration to move further in the direction of protecting innocent human life from conception fertilization.
In your state of Florida, they stopped Prop 4, praise be to God. That was good news, and we were all celebrating that. But I think it was one of, 3 states, Nebraska being one of the other one, maybe. But the rest, all of those other amendments passed. I mean, Missouri and Arizona and a bunch of other places. It's tragedy to see all of these states. In fact, I was looking at an AP article about this. Is about 1/4 said, this is a population of America, about 1/4 said abortion policy was the single most important factor for their vote. According to this article, a sweeping survey of more than 110,000 voters nationwide, close to half said it was an important factor, but not the most important. Just over 1 in 10 said it was a minor factor. So certainly a big issue in this election that went massive conservative this time. I mean, huge victory. It's a landslide victory for the Republicans. So a conservative wave went incredible in the wrong direction on abortion. How do we explain that?
Sure. Yeah, it shouldn't be a surprise to us because certainly, again, the Trump is the leader of this newly realigned Republican Party, and there's no doubt about that. And how did he lead on this? He led on this by retreating from the life issue, retreating from fighting for the protection of innocent human life. So he ran in the other direction, didn't want to talk about it. So when we don't even take the field of battle, what do we expect to happen? Now, in these various states, these 10 states, 7 went the wrong direction. Again, to be expected, I would say. South Dakota would be the great shining example of things going in the right direction. But even Florida, 57% of voters in Florida, and we had a big red wave in Florida, 57% voted for enshrining abortion up to birth into the state constitution. Now, it's only because they have a 60% threshold, which is unique, that didn't pass. But that's a bad sign, right? And so this is where hearts and minds, sadly, are at. They're poorly formed. They're upside down. We've got to understand this and deal with this. And I would say when we don't have a strategy that goes to the core of it, when we're just simply saying, well, it's too extreme, the Democrats are too extreme, and that's all we're going to say about it, we've got a big problem. The logic here is that life begins at conception fertilization. It's a scientific fact, not a religious belief. We're killing innocent human beings by the thousands every day in our nation. We've got to end the innocent bloodshed. It has to end. So we have to be abolitionists on this and change hearts and minds with that message. And by the way, also it's both and we take what we can get along the way to protect as many as possible. But as we do this, we are loud and we are clear in trying to convince people of the truth that life begins at conception fertilization. We've got to end the innocent bloodshed. And sadly, right now, that's not a position that people are leading on politically or even sadly within the church. When you got to take politics out of it, the bishops, the priests, everybody ought to be proclaiming this. I think the worst statistic I saw of all, even though Trump won the Catholic vote by a big margin. What we also saw from those exit polls is that it was 61% of Catholic voters saying that abortion should be legal in all or most cases. So that's look, this is unacceptable. So, but exactly. it also should be signs to tell us what needs to be done going forward. And I think there are some very clear takeaways in what we need to do to really take advantage of the opportunity that is before us right now. We've got a window.
I hate to say this. I mean, I kind of expected Maryland, of course, Colorado, Arizona, and dare I say even Nevada. I don't see them as conservative states. I see them as blue and liberal states. I mean, Nevada does vote conservative, but I mean, City of Sin is not very conservative. Let's just say that. So, but Missouri, really? Missouri, the heartland, is going to go and allow for abortion? Like that's mind boggling. That tells me that the state of the American people is not in a good place, that they really voted for their economy to improve or the illegal immigration issue to be resolved and maybe put an end to the forever wars. All good things. But now babies are going to die so they can have money in their back pocket. Like, that seems absolutely bizarre to me. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. But out of all the states, that was the closest one that fell. Missouri, it was about 52% who voted to amend the state constitution. And what did they do? They guaranteed the right to abortion, enshrining abortion until birth in the Missouri Constitution and eliminating parental consent laws. Also, according to FRC Action, this enshrining into the Constitution in Missouri also forces pregnancy resource centers to refer for abortion. So that's what people were voting on. Now, what was going on the ground there? How well were they informed? I'm not sure. I'm sure there was a good fight that people put up, pro-lifers in Missouri. But again, what I've seen is campaigns saying it's too extreme, instead of saying that this is evil, right? This one innocent life being killed is too many. And of course, the Democrats are ridiculously radical and extreme on this. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge the fundamental core truth that we ought not be killing innocent human beings. Exactly. And people aren't willing to say it. They're not willing to fight on that. And that really falls at the feet of the pro-life leaders. They have to understand that it's both and. If we're not proclaiming abolition and making that argument and changing hearts and minds as we go, as we do, take incremental steps, take as much as we can, but we've got to do both. Then we won't be changing hearts and minds if we're just saying too extreme. We're going to keep losing.
So I want to ask you about the pro-life cause, pro-life movements, pro-life organizations. Do you think that they really stepped up? I mean, obviously 7 states passed these amendments, so we were wondering what happened in those states. Were they there? Were they present? Were they beating the bushes, so to speak, but they just were unsuccessful?
It's hard to say. I mean, I'd really have to dive into the ground exactly into each state campaign, which I haven't done. But what I would say is that whatever's going on in South Dakota, now there's a model to look at. They're really the only shining example from Tuesday. So 60% voted against amending the state constitution. So that would have, and even what that referendum was even doing, it was just trying to amend the state constitution to guarantee the right to abortion in the first trimester. So South Dakota said no, not even in the first trimester. So their total abortion ban remains in place in South Dakota. So all abortions have been banned in South Dakota except when necessary to preserve a pregnant woman's life, which in that case, that's a different category altogether. We wouldn't even call that an intentional direct killing of the innocent human life. For instance, in an ectopic pregnancy, we remove a portion of the fallopian tube, the child dies as a result. That's a different thing. There really is no medically necessary reason to directly intentionally murder the child in the womb. And in South Dakota, it's also a felony to perform an abortion except to save the life of the mother. So that's a model right there. Whatever's going on in South Dakota, we ought to try to replicate it. Now, is that just the demographics in South Dakota? I'm sure there are different demographics there. But what I do know, again, is we've got to be clear. We are abolitionists. No more. No more innocent bloodshed. And until we're making that argument, and that's not to say we don't advance incrementally as we can. Of course we do, but it's both and. And right now, all we're getting is the and. All we're getting is that latter part of incrementalism without the proclamation of abolition. And we're not going to change hearts and minds until we change that.
But we just don't see that, do we, Jim? We don't see that there's a willingness to die on that hill, whether it's among conservatives, whether it's among Catholics even. It just seems like they've almost let that ship sail.
Yeah, well, and it's all of us. So I think we've got to lead this from the grassroots, from the ground up. In each and every one of our hearts, there are things that we can do. We've got to take the opportunity here and try to influence this thing by taking some direct action ourselves. So just a couple things that I've been kicking around. We're going to talk about it on the Friday show tonight on the Simple Truth, 4 p.m. But yeah, in terms of government policy, we've got to be clear that we're saying this is already in the U.S. Constitution. Start acting like it, calling on the U.S. Supreme Court to affirm it. The president can take executive action. The Emancipation Proclamation was an executive action that Lincoln took. A plan was put before Trump, even in his first term, called the Lincoln Proposal. You can go to Americans United for Life, AUL.org, to read about it. So this would be an official affirmation from the president. So we want to influence him, right? But what we can do on the ground, we've got to pray and work. We've got to be talking about this. We've got to learn to talk about it better ourselves by doing and by honing our ability to do it even better. There are some other things as well. I know we're hitting the break.
Jim, your connection is breaking up right now, but we're coming to a break anyway. Hold that thought. Jim Havens, host of The Simple Truth, which you can tune into Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, all across the station of the Cross Catholic Media Network and the iCatholic Radio mobile app. And make sure to subscribe and give him a review on his podcast, too. That would be amazing. On the other side of the break, I want to ask about Donald Trump. Can we influence Donald Trump? Can we get him to change his position on some of these issues? I hope and pray that that is the case, especially with J.D. Vance on the team. I'm going to get Jim Havens to weigh in on that coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere. More is coming up next. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. Good to be on with you. Praise be to God. We're talking to Jim Havens, host of The Simple Truth, who's also one of the co-founders of the National Men's March. We're going to put a link to it in the show notes, themensmarch.com. And they've got a big event coming up in Boston, Massachusetts, Saturday, November the 16th. I want to encourage you to spread the word. Every man, and I would say bring your sons too if you can. Themensmarch.com, themensmarch.com. Check it out in the show notes today as well. Jim, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being on. So let's talk about Donald Trump for a moment. It was surprising, I think, for a lot of us to learn not just that Donald Trump sort of felt like he was backtracking on the pro-life issue, taking, sort of a compromised position this time. Certainly didn't, went for in vitro fertilization, contraception, other issues as well that are related to the pro-life cause. But then it was his wife that we discovered is pro-choice. And, she's in the my body, my choice category. And I think a lot of us were shocked by that because she's the Catholic that we all thought was going to influence him. Now, I'm not burning her down, but at the same time, do you think it's possible that if Trump surrounds himself with good people like J.D. Vance, for instance, do you think he can be converted on these issues?
I think he can, yes, and let's face it, that's exactly what needs to happen. Trump is the leader of the now realigned Republican Party. He's the one that can get this moving, and it's not really going to happen without him in terms of the policy changes that need to take place. He needs to do that executive action, the Lincoln Proposal. That will trigger the U.S. Supreme Court to take up this question of the 14th Amendment and the personhood of the preborn at once. I believe the makeup of the court, if they're forced to deal with the question, they're going to come down on the right side of it. It's the only answer to the question. If they're not persons, if every human being is not a person, what else are they? Of course they're persons, and they knew it at the time of the ratification of the 14th Amendment when you go back and look. So, yeah, we need people that he trusts to put this before him, to help him see the common sense truth of it and how it can cement his legacy as the new Lincoln. I think that appeals to him, which means we also need people to help change the hearts and minds of the people that he trusts to be truly pro-life and work to end the innocent bloodshed now. So we've all got work to do. Again, we invite you into the grassroots movement that is the Men's March to Abolish Abortion Rally for Personhood. If you can join us in Boston next weekend, that would be amazing, themensmarch.com. But look, all of us need to pray and work. We need to be talking about this, getting better at talking about this. And I want to put out this challenge. If you go to a Novus Ordo parish that prays the prayer of the faithful, the prayers of general intercession, can you encourage your parish to pray for the end of abortion and the full protection of human life from conception, fertilization? It's exactly what it says in the Catechism of the Catholic Church 2270. Not only would this then be instructive to the entire congregation, but even more importantly, we would actually be praying together publicly for what it says there in the Catechism, making it explicitly clear that we really mean it, that we believe this, and we're praying for an end to the ongoing daily mass murder of the preborn. So the goal is to end this evil practice. Why aren't we praying for it in the primary place where we come together and offer our petitions to God? So we have work to do inside the church, outside the church. Pray and work, see what you're being called to do, and step up and take that action.
Oh, I was just thinking that Roe v. Wade should have been a victory lap for so many, but instead we're seeing that the battle here is really and truly not over. Maybe some of us got a little bit complacent in our celebration after the end of Roe v. Wade, because now not only are we seeing these 7 states open up the way to abortion for their people, but there's also the euthanasia issue as well. You just reminded me of that, because it's, the dignity of the human person at conception to natural death. And yet there's a huge push to have euthanasia legal across our country, let alone the whole world. How many innocent lives will die in the process of that? We don't seem to understand the value of human life, let alone the value of even suffering, because we are so self-consumed with this world. Jim, I got to be honest, it feels like we might be losing this battle.
We're losing it right now, but there is a window of opportunity to make this the turning point. Now, whether pro-life leaders will step up and change course and really start fighting on this like they ought to be doing, I don't know. But again, that's a challenge for each and every one of us, regardless of what any pro-life leader does, whatever any politician does. What are we going to do? And so, again, we need to put opportunities before people if we're called to do that. The Men's March is one such opportunity. But whatever it is that you can do right now, and again, talking to people and making movements in your local area to do what you can. I also think, look, every parish, they ought to come together and say, look, what's the plan for reaching out to pregnant moms in need within your parish boundaries? Right? This means if you have an abortion center within your parish boundaries, you take responsibility for it. What are we going to do to reach out to the people going in and out of there? We are the hands and feet of Christ. This is in our backyard. This is our responsibility. What are we going to do? And even if you don't have an abortion center, hopefully you don't, what are we going to do to reach out to those pregnant moms in need? They deserve our love and support. And so we've got to actually put the action in, support your pregnancy resource centers, of course. But what more can we do as a community? And as you mentioned, euthanasia, it's beginning and end of life is where it's most vulnerable and where it's most being attacked. At the time when Dobbs came in and Roe fell, celebrate for about a day, then get back to work. The work really begins. And I thought of the scripture passage that struck me immediately after that, which was the one about, look, you expel the demon. He's coming back with 7 of his friends, right? This fight is not over. You have to steel yourself for the fight that is just beginning. And here we are. And so, again, we've got a great opportunity. Let's not waste it.
Do you think Donald Trump will pardon the pro-lifers who've been put into jail because of the FACE Act?
On day one. He promised to do it on day one. I expect he's going to keep that promise.
Yeah, we need to hold him to account. That's something I said a lot before the election was, we may have to vote for the lesser of two evil options, but that doesn't mean we just let everything else go. We've got to hold him accountable for these issues. And the pro-life cause is definitely one of these issues that he needs to be held accountable to. For our fellow citizens, human beings are going to die, literally lose their lives because of these issues, and we can't just stand around and let that blood be on our hands like that. Wouldn't you say that's fair?
Absolutely. I think it's something that is widely taken for granted, is the time between elections. We just get all stirred up during election season. Look, we've got to do the work in between. right? This is why we didn't have a candidate come out of the Republican primary that we were able to influence to be abolition on abortion and really seek to lead in a constitutional affirmation of personhood. I do believe if Trump would have done that, he would have won by even bigger margins. Now, people can debate that. But people follow him. They listen to what he says. And this is not some crazy argument. This is so common sense and so simple. It's a scientific fact and it's a fundamental moral truth. Let's stop killing innocent babies, right? If he led on that, it would massively change hearts and minds. We've got to get there. So what's the work we need to do today in our local communities to start bubbling this message up, start pushing it forward? Let's do the work.
We're down to the wire here with Jim Havens, host of The Simple Truth, 4 p.m. Eastern, all across the station, across Catholic Media Network. But that men's march is coming up November the 16th in Boston. Give me the real quick rundown on that. When does it start? Where are you guys meeting?
Sure. Yeah, we're going to be in Boston, 11 a.m. outside of the Planned Parenthood Killing Center is where we gather. We're going to have a time of prayer. We're going to march about 3 miles. And then we're going to be at the rally point, which is in the Boston Common at the bandstand there in the Boston Common. So we've got our permits. We've got local law enforcement helping out as they've done the last 2 marches in Boston. This is the 3rd annual. We invite everybody to come out. Men, women, children, everybody can be a part of this. There's a role for everybody. All the information on themensmarch.com.
Themensmarch.com. We're going to put a link to it in the show notes for you. Themensmarch.com. Time to get the word out, though. If you know anybody in the Boston area, or who knows who you know on social media, so just put a link to it and promote it widely. Themensmarch.com. I've been to several of these. They're fantastic opportunities. And I would say if you have sons, bring your sons. It's time to stand on that hill and say this far and no further, because the day and the hour is coming when you and I will have to give an account of our stewardship, and we're going to have to give the Lord Jesus an answer for everything we've done and what we have failed to do. So I encourage you to spread the word. Jim Havens, thanks for your time today. God bless you and God love you, my friend. I appreciate you being on. We'll see you guys right back here Monday morning or in the after show. Until then, God love you.
Catholic radio has just been a lifesaver for me. I still listen to it every day. I start my day with it. I listen to it all day long as much as I can. I am very grateful for it.
It's just an amazing thing to have, as I am new to Catholicism. Obviously, it's not only helping me, but it's helping so many other people on their walk.
Thank you. God bless you for iCatholic Radio. It has changed my life.
Donate today at thestationofthecross.com.
And we're back. Welcome to the After Show, everyone. And it is Friday. Happy Friday, everyone.
Praise be to God. Soon, Jake, you will know, because you're getting married, so you will know the beauty and the glory of the honey-do list. It's going to happen. And you just spend your whole weekend doing your honey-do list. It's going to be fantastic. I'm so excited for you.
Well, I lived with my mom for a while, and I am heavily involved with my parish, so I'm already used to not having weekends be involved with rest in any way. Weekends are just an opportunity to do more work of the other kind.
Do more work.
Yep.
That's right.
I'm well aware. I'm prepared. I've been in training.
You are prepared. You have been trained properly. Praise be to God.
Yep.
Hey, James, 16897, good morning to you. Damon is on the team. Troy Lockett is over there. Good morning. Praise be to God. Eileen, good morning to you. Mike K., our friend of the show, and the brick wall from Virginia. Mateus from sunny California, good morning to you. Says, this baffles me. How can we vote red, but then vote to kill babies? It's very disappointing. Exactly. I think we have a lot of work to do. Mary Roche, good morning to you. Jane Steves, good morning, Yvonne. Thanks for hanging out. Janice, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Paul, our friend from Buffalo. Eileen, good morning to you. Good to see you here. Thanks for being on the team. We are so back, Janice says. Amen to that. Jen Nugent, good morning to you. Anne, good morning to you. Anne from England. I'm glad you're on the team today, Anne from England. Thanks for doing it. Praise be to Jesus. I see we have some Xers this morning. Under Stella Maris, good morning to you. Said the Dems have been trying to do to Latinos what they have done to Black Americans for decades. Keep up dependent on their handouts and pretending to give us what in reality is already ours. Am I the only one who's surprised that that more African Americans didn't vote for Donald Trump in this election? I thought it was going to go bigger swing. It didn't. What does that mean? Lukewarmness of Hispanic Catholics due to liberation theology that has lots to do with it. Yep, I would agree. iCatholic Mobile's on the team. iCatholicMobile.com. Good friend of the show. We appreciate having you on the team. God bless you. Thanks for hanging out. Jane Steves over on the Facebook, good morning to you, says in 4 years, JD will most likely run. We have that much time to work on a pro-life president. You know, he will be lied about and clubbed over this issue. He will be. We're going to be told that he listens to the Pope, which will be hilarious because, Pope Francis. So maybe they're going to say, why don't you listen to the Pope? This would be unlike JFK, where they were very concerned he was going to take orders from Rome. Maybe in this case, they're like, JD, you should take orders from Rome. It'll be hilarious. I think Adrian Fonseca is back on the team. Adrian, are you back?
Hey, praise be to God. It's good to be here.
I don't know why you left us so abruptly. I mean, you just cut us off and you bailed on us like that. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's what it was. Was it?
Not sure why you did that, but
I see. Whatever. I see how it is.
Whatever. I'm glad you're back. Thanks for hanging out. Patty says, how about remind people that sex is sacred and for creation of people? If not married, don't do it. Sex outside of marriage is sex abuse. Well, that was something, Adrian, that we saw on especially on social media, is that liberal women threatening to never have sex again while Donald Trump was in office.
That was so funny. That was hilarious.
How can you be opposed to Trump's presidency when he hasn't even taken office yet and he's already cured promiscuity? Like, come on.
He's converted
man can do anything.
All of these loose women to becoming ladies.
Yes.
That's tremendous. Trump is a miracle worker.
Oh, man. It's like you wonder, do they even think about what comes out of their mouth sometimes? I'm not sure they do.
Of course not, obviously.
It reminds me of the pro-abortion women who are like, maybe we should require any man who bears a woman to be tied to that woman for life, that sort of thing. And someone just said, so you've reinvented marriage. Okay.
Yeah, good for you.
Great job.
Congratulations.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. It might have been Dr. Taylor Marshall, who tweeted out something like, I'll take it a step further. I don't be with any guy unless he's willing to commit his life to you, unless he's willing to give you all of his money, and if he's willing to raise your children, and he's like listing all the things of marriage, and he's like, and make sure that he does all these things and commits to you before God and his family and your family before you allow him to do that to you.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay,
baller,
there you go,
as the kids say.
Yeah.
Are the kids saying baller still? Do kids still say baller? Is that still a
kids
thing?
might not have said baller for
nobody said that.
decades, Joe.
Nobody's saying baller?
Yeah,
what do the kids say these days, Adrian? What are the kids saying?
I don't know. Skibbity toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that? What? I'm sorry. What was that? One more time?
They say baby Gronk raised up Livy Dunn. That's what they say.
What does this mean, by the way? I saw some dudes doing that at a Trump rally. What does that actually mean? I'm just.
I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you.
Get off my lawn, you whippersnapper. I mean, good grief. I'm too old for this. I'm way too old to keep up with the kiddies. Hey, Lynn Pine, good morning to you. This is great to hear Adrian with you this morning. I used to listen to the two of you on CDT. You guys always cracked me up. Yeah, those were the good old days. Back before we got canceled.
Back before Joe had to work with me.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Before I got upgraded. Anyway,
yeah, before he got 8 monitors instead of what did I have, 4?
Yeah. Well, my monitor game is reasonable. I only have 3. It's the cameras that are unreasonable. I'm
talking about
4.
Jake.
Yeah,
I had 4 monitors. He has 8.
Yeah, I only use 5 of them.
In that case, you're only
one's reserved just for the fireplace.
Yeah, 3 are for show. I actually we'll show it off. So I actually only use. So here I've got show notes and all the chats going, and that sort of thing. Up here, of course, is the vMix, the video control. Down over here, I've got control over Joe's cameras remotely, plus the phone lines and chatting with Joe in case I can't do it by voice. Up here, not much is going on, but there's the audio meters and the control over putting the chats actually onto the camera screen. And then over here, I've got the music and some of the audio channels and things like that. So mostly just controlling the music. These kind of just hang out. These are just for show. These are just to make it look more impressive.
These are just for show. We have 3 monitors.
So I'm only releasing
show,
4 to 5 monitors a show.
That is how the pros do it, Adrian.
I wish I had 3 monitors just for show. I need to upgrade my game.
Yeah.
You are lagging behind. It's true.
I buy 3 at least.
By at least 3. Hey, Gusty MH says personhood for the unborn now under the 14th Amendment. Yes. Yeah. Where's the pro-life cause on that one, huh? It is a mixed bag out there on these pro-life organizations. Big pro-life business is not completely on board with personhood now. Just let that sink in for a second. Hey, boy, all of a sudden today, either I'm older and I'm blind, but like YouTube chat box seems so tiny to me today. Kilroy Jones, Damian Keller.
Have you tried opening your eyes?
No comments from you, mister. No, don't be making fun of the old people. Have charity for the elderly. Hey, Damian, he says, I'm watching the stars depicted on Our Lady of Guadalupe's tilma. 2 stars expected to Nova. She is Empress of America's. Over 15 million baby sacrifice, prayers and sacrifice and reparations needed. Yep. Amen. Lights is 10.
Hey,
go ahead.
Just so you know, this next week I'm recording a video on Our Lady Guadalupe for ANF. So if you want to see that, that's coming out on Our Lady's feast day, or around Our Lady's feast day. And so we're going to have it's going to be about the miracles of the tilma, and specifically we're going to do a couple more minutes on the attempt of blowing up the image of Our Lady Guadalupe. So
you should
tune in
go
for
to
that.
Mexico City and film it there.
I would love to, man. I would love to. But you know what I did do? I was heading up to Pennsylvania for the national conference, the TFP conference, and I decided to drive. And so I recorded some videos along the way. In New Orleans, I stopped and recorded a video on Blessed Silos at his shrine. So I was able to, his body was literally like 6 feet from me whenever I was recording it. So that was pretty awesome.
That is
Blessed Silos. People don't know about him, and he's pretty tremendous, and he's in our backyard. He came to the U.S., died in the U.S., died in New Orleans, lived during the Civil War. He went over to Abraham Lincoln and asked him to exempt his priests and seminarians from being drafted, and Abraham Lincoln said no. So the North drafted, the Union drafted American citizens that were priests and seminarians. And just saying, the Southerners did not draft priests and seminarians.
Wait,
that's all I'm saying.
Adrian, are you possibly implying that Lincoln and the abolitionists did not like Catholics? That's how dare you? How dare you imply something like that?
All I'm saying is that the South supported tradition, family, and property, and the North supported in the Industrial Revolution. Is all I'm saying.
Wait, are you saying that Garibaldi, the infamous Freemasonic who overthrew the Papal States and ruined Italy and the temporal power of the Pope, was a huge fan of Lincoln? Are you implying that?
Hey,
are you implying that Blessed Pope Pius IX wrote a letter of support to Jefferson Davis, who wore a brown scapular because he was raised by Catholic nuns? I
would never say that, Jake. I would never say that Blessed Pius IX handmade a crown of thorns and gave it to him. Gave it to Jefferson Davis as he was imprisoned by Lincoln, and that
I'm glad you're not saying
alleged crown of thorns may or may not be in the museum in New Orleans, right across the street from St. Patrick's Church.
May or may not.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I would never say that.
Yeah.
You are definitely not saying this. This is good. Praise be to God. Well, because we do know that everybody in the South is just a bunch of racists, right?
Yes.
Did you watch? Anybody rewatch the Dave Chappelle SNL bit from the 2020 election or 2016 election night? They put it out on. It was hilarious. It was so funny. Dave Chappelle, funny. 2016, Trump v. Hillary Clinton, and they're watching the returns come in, and him and a bunch of white people, and it was hilarious. It's actually quite funny. I would recommend you check it out. But even Dave Chappelle knows all the racists are in Kentucky, all of them. Hey, Juan Veritas, very so far away. I live in Missouri, and I can't believe what happened. It is supposed to be a red state. Yeah, what happened to the pro-life movement? I don't know. KSB, Janice, Helen, Grace, Miriam, good morning to you. Michelle, good morning to you. We appreciate, at this point, it's 7 by 7, friends. Let that sink in. Phoebe Diggs is back. Good morning. DT, good morning to you. Christine OFS, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Hey, by the way, Christine, you're showing something on camera. Christine, is New Hampshire's governors, they still only serve 2 terms? I always thought that was annoying. You can't get anything done in 2 years. You're always running for office. What does that say, Adrian? It's bring dark on it.
Somebody tweeted me and said, whenever I said that I'm not going to get deported, they said, all that needs to change, brother. You are a terrorist, brother.
All that needs to change. Well, you're going to be deported, but for different reasons. It's not because you're Latino.
Yeah, apparently.
It's because you're Catholic.
No, people are like super upset with me because I said that Latinos were American citizens and that Trump's not going to deport us. So many people are upset with me. I have people tweeting me and responding to me. It's crazy.
No, I would like to hear him spell out for us exactly how he plans to go about the deportation. Obviously, I think you got to
know where he would deport me.
Why?
Where would he send me back to Texas? Yeah, where would he deport me to? Send me to Texas? That's my follow man.
Yeah, it's
like my dad's from here. They're gonna send me. Oh, they'll probably send me back to the specific city where my dad is from. So I'd go to. Oh, right, Houston.
Houston. You'd go back to Houston, which I don't recommend.
Okay. I know. I don't recommend. Send me to where my grandparents on my dad's side of the family, where the city he's from.
Yeah.
Oh, that's still Houston.
It's still Houston.
What are we talking about?
Punishment. Let's be honest. If you have to live in Houston, it is punishment. So
hey, it's not. It's better than Chirac.
Probably, but not by a whole lot.
Buffalo wouldn't red, right?
No,
no. I mean, most of New York State goes red. Buffalo has a big enough city that we stayed blue this election, I think. But I think it was closer.
I thought I saw that.
I think it was closer than. I think it might have been closer than ever before. I mean, most of New York was closer than ever before to flipping back. New Jersey's practically a swing state now.
I thought it was.
No, did you see the stats on Passaic, which is like 73% Hispanic, 9% black, and it went well over 50% for Trump?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like we're New Jersey and Virginia are basically swing states now.
I know.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's a weird coalition, guys. There's a weird coalition.
Is that the pro-lifers did not come out for Trump in droves.
Nope.
So I mean, that's a pretty wild to see the coalition without the pro-lifers kind of really won it, which is kind of concerning, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know. My concern with the pro-lifers not voting is that it kind of signals to Trump that he doesn't need to pander to the pro-lifers.
Yes.
If they didn't help him win, then he's going to be like, well, you're not a very helpful demographic.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, honestly, that Trump has very strong opinions about abortion. I think he's just trying to do whatever is politically viable. And last time he thought that having the pro-lifers campaigning for him would be the most advantageous for him. And so he campaigned hard on pro-life. And now he thinks that it's not going to be advantageous to him. So he's like, okay, well, then I'm going to not campaign on pro-life. I'm going to be
he played the middle ground.
Pro-choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might have been I think that was a strategic mistake by pro-lifers to kind of hold that over. Considering the alternative, I think it was a mistake for pro-lifers to do that, as opposed to trying to there are better ways to hold his feet to the fire than basically say you can't win without us, and then he wins anyway. And then he's like, oh, okay, well, I don't need you guys. I think that's a mistake. There are much better ways to hold the administration's feet to the fire to be more pro-life. So,
hey, Penelope TX says, good morning. Good to see you, Adrian. Awesome.
Praise be to God. It's good to see you, Penelope.
Don Paddock says, we're only missing Rudy now. Good old Rudy. Rudy's on Ask the Priest
call
Live
Rudy.
all the
Wake
time.
him up.
Yeah.
Wake him up. Exactly. He's not gotten out of bed this early in forever.
I mean, I'll be honest. I wouldn't be up this early either. I was last night. I was at my buddy Sean. He invited me to go skeet shooting with him last night. So we were out, and we're going hunting for the first. I'm going hunting for the first time at the end of the month.
Welcome to the club, Adrian.
Excellent.
I'm so proud. I'm gonna have a tear here.
I know.
That is so.
I know.
So special.
We're gonna go duck hunting.
Oh, that's not hunting. Stop. I thought you were gonna go hunting.
Are you kidding?
I mean, birds.
I'm gonna go.
Here, sit in the blind.
I gotta shoot a bird flying away from me, and I
there's
gotta
plenty of food and drink in the freezer over there. There's feet warmers.
It's not dove hunting. This isn't dove hunting. I'm gonna be wading through the water,
duck
sitting in the marsh.
Hunters,
be wading in the waters.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm not even going to make you go get your duck. I'm going to have my dog go get your duck for you. Good grief. Oh, my.
No,
what are you, Tim Walls
I really was
now,
hoping we
all
would.
of a sudden?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's too far, man.
Do you have a shotgun or are you borrowing one?
No, I bought one on Tuesday.
What'd you get?
A
Benelli?
Stuger,
Benelli?
I think is how you pronounce it. Oh, yeah, because I got $3,000 to drop on a gun. No,
he got one of those bespoke.
Bespoke.
One of those bespoke Berettas, the shotguns.
Yeah, buddy.
Engraved silver.
I almost did because there was a used one on sale for $700, and I was like, that's way over my budget. But I'm like, it looks so nice. It was a display gun for years, and they're like, yeah, so it's been racked a bunch of times but never been shot. Yeah. So we're selling it on sale for $700, and I was like, oh, and I didn't do it. I was like, my budget was like $450.
Oh, and I ended up spending twice what I paid for my shotgun.
So I ended up spending $550 on it, and now I'm in pain.
You are rich.
I've been in agony.
You are filthy. You are a 1%er, paying $500 for a shotgun. I paid $200 for my Remington. It was the cheapest shotgun I could find.
The worst thing about it is, yesterday when I was ski shooting, it jammed like 50% of the time.
That sucks.
I was like,
my Remington works every time. It's fantastic. I was like,
what?
Yeah.
I was the guy was like, man, how many times this works for you? I was like, I don't know, about 20% of the time it works every time.
Every time. Hey, Lucia Morgan says, good morning, gentlemen. Glad to see and hear your voice, Adrian. I too was a former CDT listener, and I'm happy to have found this program. The replacement for CDT just wasn't making me want to turn on the radio each morning like CDT used to. Regarding abortion and why we had such losses, I believe we have to look to our bishops to encourage the priests to speak the truth, even though it is not happy slappy and love and butterflies. We need to call them out for this in the most charitable but uncompromising way. Our priests are afraid to speak about abortion lest they get canceled. Yeah, I find priests more and more, like when I first became Catholic, they never talked about the abortion issue, ever. I feel like they talk about it more now than they ever have before, but it's become vogue to be pro-life amongst clergy. Even bishops will be, will talk pro-life. Are they actually being pro-life? I don't think so. They're not leading rallies out in front of the Planned Parenthood. Those kinds of things, but they're talking about it a lot more. But I find that they don't talk about the marriage issue. They seem to not really want to defend marriage between a man and a woman, which I tie these issues together. You want a truly pro-life country, then you need to have marriage be the bedrock between a man and a woman committed for life, right? Like until that happens, I just don't think we're truly going to be a pro-life people.
Yeah, Joe and I became Catholic at the same time around this in the same year, and.
Yeah, whatever, kid. Whatever.
It's true. We did. I'm older than you in the faith, actually.
What year were you born?
98.
Yeah, you are. You are a year older than me in the faith. Praise be to God.
You're
Congratulations,
welcome, youngster.
Congratulations. You had decent parents. Good for you, pal. Good for you.
I know. I just tweeted about that. Actually, a side note. The Houston firefighter died in line of duty yesterday.
Saw that.
My dad's a senior captain in the Houston Fire Department, and every time a firefighter dies, we had 14 deaths in the city of Houston since 2000. It hits hard because I'm like, that could have been my dad, especially this last guy who died. He wasn't even in the fire. He was outside surveying, and the wall collapsed outward and killing the man. And and that's what my dad does now, because as a senior captain, he doesn't go in the fires anymore. He's a safety officer, and he surveys the building. I'm like, oh, okay, my dad's fine now. It's not very risky. He's not running in the building anymore. And this happens, and now I'm like, oh my goodness, that could have been my dad. Because he does that. That's what he does. And I feel horrible, but whenever I hear about these things, I'm like, oh, thank God it wasn't my dad. I feel bad for his family, but I'm like, oh, man. And so, yesterday I tweeted out, last night, I was like, I love my father. I love my parents. Like, I'm so grateful. Because you never know. I mean, these things happen, and it's a tragedy. But back to your, the point about the comment on abortion, I think we have to be very careful not to, and I want to be hesitant in saying this because I'm like, I have no desire to denigrate our clergy. But we can't and we shouldn't wait for our bishops. We don't need to. We don't need a mandate from our bishops to preach against abortion, to be, and I'm talking about for priests as well, not just a laity. Obviously for laity, we have a lot more freedom, but the priests, you have a divine mandate that supersedes the bishop. Our Lord Jesus Christ told us to go out and preach the gospel to all nations. Teach them all that I have commanded you, not some of what I commanded you, all that I have commanded you. That is from our Lord Jesus Christ. His divine mandate supersedes a bishop's mandate. So, no, I mean, if you don't need to wait. I mean, I would be so happy if bishops started to help our priests and our clergy and our laity and support them and encourage them to do these good things. But we don't need them to. I would be great. I would love it. But no, this is a divine mandate, and we should be out there doing our best to promote these things now. And, it's that I love the TFP. They're wonderful. And I'm not just saying that because they employ me. But the members of the TFP did a campaign in Florida to support the Amendment 4, to actually be against Amendment 4, obviously. And they did a campaign. They had about 7 men, and it started in North Florida and 7 men in Southern Florida. And they went across the state of Florida, campaigning all across. And he said the big thing was the majority of Floridians supported the pro-life position, but they didn't even know what was happening. And they didn't understand the proposition because they worded it in such a confusing manner. And so that was a huge issue that was happening. And I just wish that the TFP had more resources to be able to have done this in like every state that was having these abortion referendums, because we saw so many losses on the pro-life side. And I think a lot of it is we don't have the activism has gone down since Roe v. Wade has fallen, and the amount of volunteers have fallen, the amount of donations have fallen, the amount of everything has fallen. And we have to realize this fight has just started. I mean, now we have the fight in every single state. And to your point about the pro-life issue, I mean, about marriage, this is an entire culture, the culture of life, as people call it. This is very, very important. You're 100% correct. There was a movement for a while, and I think it's died out a little bit, but it's disgusting. They call it mini skirts for life, and have these girls showing up in mini skirts trying to promote pro-life. Except that's diametrically opposed to pro-life. The promiscuity of culture is one of the main causes of abortion. Like this idea of the 1920s, this free love, this promiscuity, this throwing off the clothing, this led to the abortion movement. We had to have a return to proper clothing, to proper dress, to proper decorum. All these things to have this mini skirts for life is an oxymoron. It's a paradox, not a paradox, because a paradox is only seemingly contradictory. It's actually contradictory. That's That's the thing that we have to focus on. Every single person should focus on the tangential revolution. The tangential revolution. We have tendencies that lead towards revolutionary acts, revolutionary ideas, and we have to abolish those, crush them, destroy them, because they lead to these other revolutions. They may not, I mean, the miniskirt may be a sin, but tangential revolution does not necessarily mean it's always going to be a sin, but it can lead to sins, grave sins, like abortion.
Hey, Kita 1888, hello and welcome. Good morning. Thanks for hanging out with us today over on the Rumbles. Says South Dakota stood for the babies, all the Christian people united in their effort to defeat Amendment G. We also upheld property right, overturning a legislative act that was pushed through at the last. Our state was consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary by both dioceses independently. St. Michael prayer is prayed after all masses. That's telling. And if I'm not mistaken, Kita, you're also getting rid of your property taxes, right? I'm just saying I may be moving to the Dakotas. I may have to move to the Dakotas because it's starting to look base no cap, as the kids say.
Please, God.
I hope you like snow, Joe.
Please, God. Abandon the property tax in Texas. I hope so. And Donald Trump,
they won't.
Please.
No, Texas has already said they're not doing it.
Get rid of the federal income tax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Texas has already said that although they would like to get rid of property tax, there's no way they actually can because they can't make up the $80 billion. Because here's the deal, Adrian. They're not going to take a pay cut. There's no way. They're not taking a pay cut. So they said, you got to tell us, how are we going to get our $80 billion? If we're not going to use property tax to get there, then how else are we going to do it? Since there's no viable option, we're continuing to get for the property tax. The state of Texas is about halfway on the chart of all the states when it comes to overall tax burden. It seems crazy, but it is. New Hampshire is the second lowest of overall tax burden in the entire state. New York is the worst. New Hampshire's amongst the best in the entire state. Alaska is the only one better in overall tax burden. Texas, the so-called conservative state, is incredibly expensive.
Let me explain how we do this. We can easily abolish property tax and still retain the money we need. And I'm taking this from the very wise business philosopher by the name of Donald J. Trump. And what we do
the deal guy
is we set up a tariff from goods in California and New York and Washington State. And when we do that, we make the money back from the tariffs. And so we can abolish the property tax. Plus, we get to hurt the economy over there, so they can
it's a win-win.
Maybe change their way of life a little bit.
But then when they all move to Texas, what do we do then?
No, so that's what we do. We build a wall around Texas, and so no one can get in. All around Texas.
Got it.
Yeah, no, we need the Mexican border side open though.
If that's the only one that we leave open, is that one. Did you see that the Mexican president failed to recognize Donald Trump after the election?
Who's surprised?
That's not surprising.
She's literally a witch.
Yep.
She's literally a communist for sure. By the way, Stella Mara
she's literally a witch. She literally was doing a witchcraft ceremony. Did you see that?
Not surprised. No, I didn't see it, but I'm not also surprised.
She's I'm not saying figuratively she's a witch. She's literally a witch.
Mexico's lost, man. The home of your ancient ancestors. Lost.
Yes.
Let that sink in.
People.
There needs to be a Reconquista in Mexico. Imagine if Mexico came alive for Our Lady Guadalupe again. Imagine what would happen, how that would reverberate, not just in America, but in the entire world. We need it again.
Yeah.
May she come back and crush the head of Satan one more time. Hey, Stella Mara says, did you see a TikTok after the election, a woman putting her makeup on, telling women to divorce their husbands now because Trump will abolish no-fault divorce? I wish. Man, are you kidding me? How many times has Trump been divorced? You think he's going to get rid of
Trump?
I mean, that would be amazing.
In the minds of liberals.
Yes.
That would be just amazing, but it'll never happen. Anyway, the proving divorce will be more expensive and long, blah, blah, blah. Don't I wish this were true and no fault were abolished? I know. I wish it was true, but there's no possibility of it. that
no fault
will
divorce
actually
is the
go away.
craziest thing ever. It literally makes no sense. It's like the only contract that you can just break for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's absurd. Like, even from a legal standpoint, it's absurd that you can just say, I don't feel like it. I'm out. Like that, you can't do that with any other contract. And somehow marriage is a less important contract than your contract with your buddy for your small business you're starting. Okay, sure.
Right. Yeah. It's an issue. And I like what you said earlier about, we don't have to wait on our bishops, but at the same time, I believe that we won't be truly effective until the bishops make a decision to get off the fence and start being Catholic bishops. Make Catholic bishops great again. And until they make that decision, we really won't see society get better. What's that? Yeah, exactly. They need to be Cristero warriors. They need to make the resolution within themselves that they're prepared to die as martyrs. But they aren't. They definitely aren't.
Kind of being sarcastic, and that's a little bit.
Well, I think I'm not. I think that they need to make that decision internally. They decide, you know what? No, if they're going to kill me, let them kill me.
I think that would be great. But the bishops during the Cristero Wars mostly were not supportive of the Cristeros. It was like 2 or 3 bishops that were helping them. Everyone else was against them, and ultimately Rome betrayed the Cristeros. That's how they lost. So I think that's unfortunately, the bishops are rarely on our side, even 1920s.
Deborah, at the very least, says property taxes should be slashed in half in Texas. Never happened, Deborah. They're used to the gloat. Mm-hmm. They like their paychecks every year, no matter what. There was an exception because of the pandemic. They did scale it back because that was Governor
When I become
Abbott.
king of Texas, I'll give a progressive Texas tax break on property tax. So every
progressive
child you have in wedlock, I will give a 10% tax break. So if you have 10 kids, you will have no taxes. If you have 12 kids, we'll pay you.
If we incentivize that, if you're married for 10 years, you get half the property tax. If you're married for 20 years, you get no property tax. If you ever divorce, you pay 110% property tax. Could you imagine how many people would stay married?
These are all just complicated ways to say that all people should be renting from the government, which is ridiculous. Abolish the property tax entirely.
There's the monarchist we all love.
Abolish the property tax everywhere entirely, and the income tax, and inheritance taxes. Inheritance taxes are more evil than property taxes. Taxing what you leave to your children is satanic. Like, that's literally satanic.
It is satanic. I mean, they taxed it already when you made the income.
Yep.
They tax it whenever you spend it.
Yeah.
They're going to tax it when you die. They're going to tax. I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd, the taxes we pay.
Yeah.
It's criminal. It's communist. Honestly,
it is. This is all just usury and robbery of people.
Damien says, I got dragged through a no-fault divorce even when there was evidence that my wife was suffering. A mental breakdown destroyed our 2 girls' family. I'm so sorry, Damien. I know how that feels personally. My parents have been married and divorced many times, so I kind of know what that's like. So my heart goes out to you, and we'll be definitely praying for your family. Alberto, our friend from the UK, good morning. There's only $300,000 inheritance tax here. Hold on.
What?
Are you saying they only tax it if it's $300,000 or more? Like, is that what you mean, Alberto? Because
what do you mean?
That means Adrian's in trouble. That means Adrian's going to be paying huge taxes. If that's
I have bazillions of dollars.
Bazillions of dollars. That's right. Are the Bazillions still around? Do they still exist? Are there any left?
They live down in Brazil.
Yeah, there's about a bazillion of them.
There's about a bazillion fathers. There's actually there's only a handful of them, right?
Nah. Yeah, there's not that many left. At UST, University of St. Thomas, there's, I think, 2 left there. And then at St. Thomas High School, my alma mater, there is 1 at the school.
Wow.
And so, they used to teach there at the school. They used to do everything at the school. When I was there, we had 4 bazillions at this church, at the school. There was like 3 at UST. In just that short amount of time, members died, a couple left.
Because they embraced Vatican II. They went full guttural response to the post-Vatican II era, and here we are. They're dying on the vine. How sad is that, huh? Incredibly sad. The Lost Creole says the 3 things a woman should not be allowed to do: vote, divorce, drive. Wow. Man, I tell you what, my wife scares me behind the wheel. I'm going to be honest with you.
I thought your wife doesn't drive.
Well, there has been a few occasions where she's driven when I've been in the passenger seat, but I can't do that. It's too scary for me.
It's like 3 times your whole life, man.
Exactly. But those 3 times left a mark. So, again,
poor Joe's traumatized.
I got to have counseling as a result, like PTSD, so thank you, but no.
I think we should severely restrict voting. Voting should be done by only certain people.
Here's
landowners.
Here's the great thing. Someone, I think it was Glenn Beck, was just saying we should have an electoral college within the states, so that big cities can't dominate a single state, in an entire state in the way that they do, where Chicago dominates Illinois, and someone said, yeah, the founders did already think of this. This is why only landowners could vote.
Yep.
That was the electoral college of the states. So, we don't have to reinvent the wheel there. We can just go back to how the country was founded. If you want to support how the country was founded, universal suffrage is not it, folks. That's
100%.
If you are upset that America's not running the way it used to, and we're not living up to how the founders started it. Well, universal suffrage is an instant fix.
Yeah,
for a lot
because
of those problems.
The homeless guy who's on drugs on the street has the same vote as a former governor, a former president, a former senator. It's absurd.
Or put it this way: people who are aborting their children and not having any legacy for the country down the road have the same vote that matters for people who are raising children and whose children will have to deal with the country that people are voting for. Right?
Yeah, in Brazil, it is a legal obligation to vote. Every single Brazilian citizen has to vote in their election. Mm-hmm. And if you are not in Brazil at the time, you have to go to the nearest embassy and cast your vote. It's a $3,000 fine if you don't vote. And so I was talking to some of the TFP members who are Brazilians. And so they were saying, yeah, it's absurd that my vote as just some random guy who's a Brazilian citizen is equivalent to Prince Bertrand's vote, who is the head of the Imperial Royal House. And literally, he is the king of Brazil. Mm-hmm. He's like, my vote is equal to his vote. Yep. It's absurdity. Yep. Absolute absurdity.
Yep.
Yeah, well, monarchy's dead. So there you have it.
Well, that's what they said about the King of Kings on the Friday.
They did. So. They did. Polachicho, mi amigo.
Dead. I met him.
Good morning to you, Polachicho. Thanks for hanging out with us today, praise be to God. By the way, Penelope TX says, this is Lori Powell. Remember the good old days when Lori would bring us like those chocolate cheesecakes, or what does she bring to Sherathons back in the day?
Yeah.
Pies? Man, those were, and I could eat them back in those days. They were good.
No, the last year you couldn't.
That's true. The last time I was there,
I had your slice.
You had, yes, and I was jealous. I was very jealous.
It was so good.
Yeah,
one of the best pies I've ever had in my life. Don't tell my mom.
You sound like Donald Trump. That was hilarious listening to Donald Trump on election night. Like he wins a historic election, and he goes on and on and on about Elon. Like Elon, my buddy, little Elon, flying rockets. Elon,
he loves Elon's rockets.
Elon is so cute. Elon, my little guy.
The best part is the funniest part is that he took a picture of down in Mar-a-Lago of, oh, look, the whole Trump family, the whole Trump clan. It's all the Trump kids and grandkids or whatever. And Elon's in it too. Yeah, it's exactly. Like he's adopted him. It's so funny. He's like, oh, Barron needs a little brother because Barron is like 11 feet tall. So Barron needs a little brother to hang around. So I'm just going to adopt Elon Musk.
Barron is 18 feet tall. Have you seen Barron?
I'm pretty sure he's the Nephilim. Actually,
I said that on election night. He's a descendant of the men of renown. That's what he is.
What? That guy? What?
They're still alive.
What are they feeding him? Hormone enhanced corn? Like that guy is so.
No, that's all. That's all natural or supernatural, Joe. He's a descendant of the.
He's not steroids. Are you sure about that? Definitely. I think he's roiding it up personally.
He'd be.
Yeah, he's a son of man. I guess.
Yeah, he's a.
Patricia thinks I'm going to the doghouse now that I've made fun of my wife's driving. Well,
nah, she would agree.
She would probably agree. Her driving is un poquito scary. The Rocket Man.
I remember she was like, I'm not going to, whenever Joe's out of town, he was like, I'm just going to go to the local parish. I'm not going to drive because I don't want to drive very far.
It's so sad. It's so sad. She will never, pray for my wife because the instant I die, which might be soon, she's not going to go anywhere beyond a 5-mile radius. It's going to be so tragic, you know?
Your sons are going to be old enough to drive her around.
Oh, man. I hope. I pray. But we'll see, I guess. Are they going to stick around?
Your sons are old enough to drive now, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They are. But we delay the driving in the house for a number of reasons. It's Houston, Texas. It's insanely expensive to have teens driving in your house. So we can't afford $500 shotguns at our place, unlike others. So
well, there you go, folks.
There you
tell them stop being bummed. Go get a job.
It's time to get a job.
They're already 14. Why are they not working full time?
Get a job, loser.
Get a job. Well,
child labor laws are ruining this country.
I would say they're living in their parents' basement.
Too,
we don't actually have a basement, so they're not living in it. So there's that. Edward Clancy says Barron is 6'9". 6'9".
That's it.
That's crazy tall. What do you mean that's
He's
it?
only
How
18.
tall are you, Adrian?
6'9" and only 18.
5'9".
I'm 7 feet tall. What are you talking about? As far
do
as
you
it
identify
looks
as
in this
LeBron
picture,
James?
in this video right now, I am 7 feet tall, and you would have no idea, right? And you have no clue. Look, my head almost touches the top of my bookshelf.
Almost. Yeah, it's very deceptive, I would say, because you look almost 5'9" right now. But
5'9"? What?
Yeah. How tall are you?
The disrespect. I'm
How tall are
5'10". Don't take away my
5'10".
inch.
Oh wow, I was only off by that much. Wow. Man, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima.
That's above
culpa.
average. Isn't average 5'7"? I think the average man in America is 5'7".
I have no idea, but
really?
it's way above average for Latinos.
Is it really? No. Stop.
Yeah.
Latinos
My brother and I are both 5'10", so I must be like 5'10" and like a fourth of an inch because I'm slightly taller than my brother, but we're both 5'10". So.
Sci-Fi says there should be a voting course that teaches the outcomes of political thought. It's called college. This is what we pay tens of thousands of dollars to send our kids to so they can
they should
understand political
teach it
thought.
in high school so people don't have to go to college.
It's called public school, which obviously we still pay a lot of money to teach them how to vote for the appropriate party and all of their progressive agendas. It's a big business, Sci-Fi. We're already doing this. I don't understand. The class should be 2 hours, and that will deter most uninformed, lazy voters. It's interesting you bring that up because I have to go to a hunter. I had to back in the day go to a hunter safety course in order to be able to hunt legally in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. But nothing is required to vote. I think that's a good point, actually.
How about driving?
Perhaps. You got to go to a course. You got to pass a test. You got to prove that you can drive.
We need to make it way more difficult for people to drive.
Or are you just being racist that you require people to pass tests?
Yeah, exactly. It's to having standards at all is racist and
racist
sexist.
Against who?
Yeah, and misogynist.
Against Latinos, of course. Yeah. I mean, they can't be asked to pass tests.
Exactly. Yeah, that's like asking.
Yeah,
that's like asking.
I don't even know English.
That's like asking.
That's not fair.
Fire women, female fire persons. Or birthing fire persons, whatever the proper term is. That's like asking them to, pass a physical test, like to become a firefighter. Like you can't require them to be able to carry someone out of a burning building. That's sexist.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's sexist to require.
That is very.
Yeah,
that is very sexist.
I'm not gonna.
And, here's a question: if a man transes to a woman, and if a male firefighter transes to a female firefighter. Does the new firefighter that was the old firefighter have to pass the female version of the test or the male version of the test?
That's a great question.
The female version, obviously. But the here's the worst part about the whole firefighter issue. Yes, there's a real concern about being able to actually do the job. But honestly, it's social cohesion. It's like the military. When you have a woman in your platoon, like you're having a woman live with you, sleep with you, eat with you. The same thing is with the fire department. Like it's not the police force where you go home every day. You sleep at the firehouse. She's either going to have to sleep in the bunks with the men, or they're going to have to try to designate a room for the women. Usually there's only like one woman on a shift, and she's going to be either have to get her own room, have to do all this work to have that happen. But she's going to be eating, sleeping, living with all these men for most of the year because they work 48 hours a week, 24-hour shifts.
You made me think about this. Do you think Donald Trump, because there's already big talk, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has already come out and said, I'm going to be gutting the FDA, woo! You know, which is great, praise be to God. But do you think Donald Trump will overhaul the Department of Defense? Do you think he will try to get rid of DEI and the trans movement there, or women in combat, anything like that?
Yes and no. I mean, half of those things, yes. Half of those things, no. I think the DEI stuff, I think he'll nix that. The trans stuff, I think he'll severely cut it back because of military readiness. Women in the military, I don't think he's going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So I think it's going to be a mixed bag, but I definitely think the DEI stuff he'll come after hard. His kind of a huge element of the campaign was that part of it. And one thing about Trump that I respect is that he pretty much keeps his promises. That's why it's concerning whenever he promises things that we don't like, or concerning when he says that he's like, oh, I'm not going to ban abortion. I'm not going to go for a federal ban of abortion. His last election, his last presidency, he fulfilled almost everything he promised. He surprisingly is not a liar. He exaggerates for sure. Exaggerates quite a bit.
Everything is exaggerated. It's so hilarious.
Everything's exaggeration. Everything's exaggeration.
Here's the thing. The key with Trump: take him seriously, just not literally.
Exactly.
The common thing, and this is what gets clicks when you're doing political coverage: is you take something literally, but not seriously. So when a candidate misspeaks, or when a candidate says something that they weren't prepared for, you take that as like their policy. Like, the key is to take him, like when Trump says, "Oh, we're going to build something, it's going to be the biggest," it's going to be like, and then people are like, "Well, actually," or Donald says, "Oh, we built Trump Tower and it was the tallest tower ever. It was so beautiful," or whatever. And then people are like, "There's a tower in Abu Dhabi that's actually 3 feet taller than that. Trump is a liar and evil." Like that's what the media got called out for. That's why no one trusts the media anymore, is because they took him literally, but not seriously.
They said she was going to kill, what's her name?
Liz Cheney?
Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney. He was like, he wants her executed. It's like, no, it's not at all what he said. He said he's going to, he wants her to serve in the front lines.
The funniest thing is that people taking the media seriously on that probably got him more votes. Probably.
Yeah,
no one likes
I agree.
The Cheneys.
Who was it? Who was he's like a center left commentator. I'm forgetting his name now, but he was like, "Hey,
there's
I'm
only one
supporting
center left commentator, only one guy. That's it."
Yeah, really, there really is.
narrowed the field,
Everyone else is like far left.
Yeah, everyone else is radical leftists.
Bill Maher.
Okay,
yeah,
got it. Yeah,
and he was like, "This is crazy." Like, I heard him what he said. This is obviously not what he said. Like, I'm already voting for Kamala. You're not. Like, this is making me go the other direction. Like, yeah, this is. Yeah, you're probably right. They really did a horrible campaign.
They're so clueless. They're so tone deaf to the whole thing. It's just mind-boggling. Someone put on X this morning, I think it was Benny Johnson maybe, the next time Americans tell you Christ is king, don't tell them they're at the wrong rally. Like have a clue, people.
Like, you're going to alienate the Christian vote. Like, even you have to pretend to be a Christian. Like, don't you understand this? Like, you don't understand that you have to. You need to pretend. Like, if you're a liar, you lie constantly about all sorts of things, and you can't. I guess the Bible is right. I mean, you get set by the Holy Ghost. You can't say Christ is Lord, because homegirl could not, for the life of her, say Christ is Lord.
Mm-hmm. Homegirl. That's what the kids are saying these days. Homegirl.
No, that's just me. I'm the only person that says that.
I'm gonna write that down. Homegirl. All right.
Yeah,
hey, Edwin.
People get upset with me about that because they still say homeboy and homegirl.
Chesty's on the team today. Praise be to God. Chesty, Semper Fi. Good to see you here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Edward
Semper
Clancy says he said that on the show with Rep. Jamie Raskin as a guest, the guy who promised civil war. I know, right? The guy who said he's not going to certify the vote. I thought it was hilarious that Kamala Harris, as vice president, has to certify the vote for Donald Trump in January. Like, that's going to be
That's epic. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time right there. And
I'm not going to be here for that.
And if they don't, can we just say that's an insurrection and we throw them in jail forever? I mean, like, seems like that's the policy and the rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the standard.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah,
Colleen, good morning to you. Says I'm so excited watching Trump's cabinet picks. Already loving the first woman chief of staff by the guy who's anti-woman. Yeah, that's typical Trump, isn't it? Shoving it down their throats. Gregory says, I know you guys, me too, love Trump, but I really don't believe he is a Christian, just my opinion. Well, Gregory, I got to be honest with you. This is where I start to get in trouble, because when I criticize Donald Trump, I get some pushback on that. But my issue with Donald Trump, as I've made very clear prior to the election, and I'll make it clear now too, is I don't understand how he could live with himself at night on his position on abortion, on contraception, in vitro fertilization, on marriage. These are the big issues, let alone giving our tax dollars to big pharma to the tune of $1 billion, warp speed. They only stabbed him in the back after that. It didn't help him politically. Right. But he gave our money away and they jabbed the world. Like, that's not a good thing. Will RFK successfully take on Big Pharma? I'm not so sure. We'll find out.
Don't touch the oil.
Yeah. Just don't touch the oil, Bobby.
No, I don't
know. It's not a good thing. But I will also say this. I kind of felt like Donald was trolling Catholics with the whole St. Michael thing on social media. I want to believe it's sincere. Like, there's a spark there. Like, he's on a journey.
Why was he trolling?
Because he's not dumb. Because somebody in his campaign said, you need the Catholics to come out for you. And it's St. Michael's feast day. Just throw something up on social.
So
just do
pandering?
It, Donald.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, pandering. That's what I
Which,
meant.
again, like, we can't deny that it's nicer to be pandered to than to be persecuted.
Yeah. I don't want to burn it down.
for sure.
I don't want to burn it down, but at the same time, I have this feeling
here's
like
my analogy.
it's really just campaigning, I guess. Pandering is the good word.
Sure.
Yeah, so my analogy is that in the Secret of the Rosary, there's the king who would wear the rosary around his waist, but he never prayed it. He tended to be generally a decent man overall, but he did not live a good enough life to get to heaven. So he dies, and he meets the pearly gates, and Our Lady stands before him and says, because you wore the rosary and people saw you wearing the rosary, even though you never prayed it, just seeing you wear the rosary encouraged so many people to pray the rosary that I'm going to grant you this grace to come back to life. And so you can change your life. And so our Lord brings them back to life, and he has an amendment of life. He converts, he starts praying the rosary every single day and dies a holy death. I think Our Lady honors those who honor her. And so, yes, I mean, I don't think he's genuine about a lot of these things. At the same time, sometimes you do things ironically, but you cannot do things ironically without it eventually becoming serious. That's why it's not good to be ironic all the time, because that just becomes who you are. Mm-hmm. And the same thing is true. I think about Ratisbon, who wore the miraculous medal and went to go pray at the church before Our Lady in order to prove the Christians wrong. He was like, nah, this stuff doesn't work. This is crazy. He's like, he took a bet. He said, I'm going to call your bluff. I'm going to wear the miraculous medal. I'm going to say the prayers. I'm going to stand before the altar of Our Lady, and it's not going to have an effect on me. He prays before the Blessed Virgin, and he has an instantaneous conversion, becomes a Jesuit priest, founds a group dedicated to the conversion of Jews. This could happen to Donald Trump. Our Lady honors those who honor her. And I think so many people have been exposed to the Catholic faith in a way they never would have if Trump did not try to pander to Catholics in this way. So I have a serious hope that Our Lady will grant him the grace of conversion. Maybe it won't be in time to help us, but at least hopefully it'll be in time to save his soul.
Yeah, well said.
Yep.
But what I don't like is when Catholics have said this. I've heard it a lot from even like well-known Catholics. What do you want your politicians to be saints?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. Like, that is the dumbest thing ever. I can't believe that comes out of any Catholic's mouth.
Well, Catholics aren't used to it.
Of course you want your politicians to be saints. Only saints make it to heaven.
American Catholics aren't used to this because American Catholics live in a government of elected officials.
Revolutionary government.
And let's just if you hold up the amount of elected official saints versus the amount of monarchy saints, I wonder where that balance falls. So people aren't used to having saints as heads of state. Yeah, exactly. So people are not used to having
Moreno.
Yep, Moreno. God bless him. Great. I wish we had more elected officials like that, but
we don't.
The thing is,
do we?
In Europe, you can look at past and say, oh yeah, we had Louis IX. We had like Edward the Confessor. We had Ferdinand. We had you can look back and you can see what multiple Holy Roman Emperors were saints. All this and that and the other. In America, you don't have that sort of like
Charlemagne, right?
God to be perfect,
right, Adrian? Yeah. Do we have Charlemagne?
Yes, blessed Emperor Charlemagne.
Who canonized Charlemagne? Who canonized Charlemagne?
I don't know. You tell me. Was it the Orthodox?
Anti-Pope John the 23rd.
Yes. So
I said,
people regard him more as a blessed, because
like I said,
the Pope after John the 23rd.
Yeah.
They dissolved his canonization, and ever since then, no one wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole because they're like, I don't want to do what an anti-pope did.
Yeah.
Just for the
Which
record,
is silly,
for anybody
he is still
not
a blessed.
understanding,
We're
talking about the old John the 23rd, not John the 23rd of the 1900s.
Yes.
Not Roncalli.
John the 23rd of the 1900s took the name because, honestly, I wonder if he did it as a slight against anti-pope John the 23rd.
Yeah, just
because
to kind of say.
No one took the name John the 23rd since then because they didn't want to be associated with the anti-pope. So it is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird, isn't it?
And
it's
so,
very, very interesting.
But he is still a blessed. They still celebrate him on his feast day in Aachen, where his capital was. He is a blessed. So
I mean, if a lot of the modern saints are saints, if someone is to hold to that position, then Charlemagne, I mean, he was like 99% good. He did exactly. One bad thing.
Just one bad thing. It's like he's mostly a good person. That's all it takes is just, I'm a good person. What do you mean?
Okay. The one bad thing he did was done with good intentions and arguably he didn't know better. Okay. He was forcing people to convert by the sword. So it's not he supported abortion or something.
Yeah.
He must not have read the Pope's wishes that we don't proselytize anybody anymore. Has he not read the Vatican II documents?
And lest we forget, Christopher Lee portrayed Charlemagne in a bunch of heavy metal albums. So I mean if that's not qualification for Charlemagne being a saint,
that doesn't.
Who the heck is Christopher Lee?
Man.
What question are you asking? Who is Christopher Lee?
Who's
Christopher Lee?
Adrian was born in 1998. He doesn't know these things. Okay, listen. He's never watched. He hates movies too.
Dooku,
he doesn't watch movies.
Saruman.
Yeah.
Scaramanga, the man with the golden gun.
You don't remember Christopher Lee? He battled Yoda.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Yoda was flipping all over, like little green frog flipping all over the place.
I've never seen Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, that wasn't Lord of the Rings.
Get off this show. Get off this show.
Yeah.
I've seen the first Lord of the Rings movie. Mostly, I missed like 10 minutes of it because I went to go get some chicken. The second one, I seen part of it. And the third one, I've seen the beginning of it. And then I've seen The Hobbit.
Have you read the books?
That's it.
Hey,
I read the first book.
I'm not condemning Donald Trump. Sci-fi, I'm not condemning Donald Trump. He confesses Christ, and I believe he is on a journey. What I said was I think he was pandering to Catholics. His wife is pro-choice, so it brings into question what she believes about the Catholic faith. I pray for both of their conversions, their total conversion. Praise be to God. It would be amazing. Frankly, I've said this before about Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden. Pray for Joe Biden. His ability to make a valid confession at this point is in question. Like, he's going to die soon, so he needs to make a valid confession before it's too late, right, for his own soul. Imagine if Nancy Pelosi converted. Imagine, these people who claim to be Catholic, if they had true conversions, what might be accomplished through their power and their influence. I would say it's all the more true for Donald Trump. So I pray for his total conversion. But I feel pandered to in general when he talks about things Catholic, especially since he's making so many compromised positions on abortion, IVF, contraception, and the marriage issue in particular. So, pray for him. He's like us all. We're not perfect. None of us are, and we're all on our journey. And I pray for his total conversion, except for Adrian. Adrian's levitating right now. We don't know that. We can't see that because of the camera.
He's bilocating. He's on another morning show at this very moment.
He is bilocating. He's not. Is it which other morning show are you on, Adrian? At the moment, I'm just asking for a friend.
Whoa! We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. Well, I can say this: you and I are definitely not on the GRN that much. Anyway, God bless you all. Thank you, Adrian, for hanging out with us today. That was fun to have you back on the show. We'll have to have you come back soon. Make sure to check out America Needs Fatima and the Don Bosco channel in the show notes today. God bless you and God love you.
And we're clear.
Hey, Joe, have you ever read